Hi, I'm Brent.
I'm Dre, and along with Patrick, who's in the front, we have a project called WISP that we want to present to you today.
And the WISP project is this project that we devised to try and capture the idea of whimsy, like that first time when you drew your name in the air with a sparkler.
So the technique that we're using is called light writing, or more commonly known as light writing. Pretty simple. It's a long exposure with a camera. You use a light source, flashlight, LED or something. So here's an example of Picasso doing a centaur using a light writing technique.
He did a whole series of these too. There's something like 100 of them or so. The community is actually really vibrant. There's some great examples out there. This top example here was done on the space station just this past January 6th. On the JAXA module, and it's sort of like a tree-shaped object with some LEDs. Then he just spun it in the low Earth gravity. The bottom example here was found on Reddit. Someone just painted this with a flashlight.
So we thought, what else could you paint, do light writing with? And we thought drones. Or quadricopters, and we were thinking about like what could we do with it, like what could we add to it, how could we, what kind of weight could it lift, and we started thinking and imagining the possibilities of what we could do with quadcopters.
So I was really dismissive of the idea when it first started, and Patrick sent over this photo, and it just sort of blew my mind. So we devised this project called WISP, which is Weird Illuminated Sky Painting.
This is basically just the photo of the onboard lights of a quadcopter, and we saw the potential immediately with just the onboard lights, so we thought of some other things.
So we thought, well, let's add some more lights to it. So we produced this foam core prototype, strapped it to the bottom of the helicopter. This is an LED strip, and then we've got a microcontroller which can handle turning on each of the LEDs individually, so we can create all sorts of different colors and patterns.
Yeah, so blinking lights on a ring aren't necessarily that cool, but when you combine that with long exposure photography, some of our indoor tests were just holding the ring and putting a blinking pattern, which basically blink, 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 and then we have the lights kind of going one at a time around the circle, so you get the spiral pattern as a result. So we decided to take it out of the apartment and bring it to a park, and we didn't have a quadcopter yet, so what we did is we tied it to a string and just kind of hoisted it up into a tree to mimic what it might be like, and we did get some kind of weird stares from people in the park as to what we were doing.
So this is the helicopter that we picked up. So basically, this is a DJI Phantom, and it's ready to fly. It's really easy. It's got a couple pros to it. It's got GPS lock, so it's really easy to fly. It can hold what we needed it to hold. And the cons are it's heavily favored by little tiny dogs. So every time you try to land it, they chase after it.
So here's an early successful test, and to the average person in a park watching us doing that, they're basically just seeing blinking lights and this whirring sound. But when you combine that with the long exposure and with a little bit of patience waiting for it to happen, this is like 8 seconds, sometimes up to a minute, you end up with these really nice patterns.
And this is one of the patterns that we tried to replicate time and time again that evening, was this depth that we got when we did this minor course correction with the helicopter. There's something really fascinating about the discovery process in this, and there was this accidental behavior that you try to replicate. You never can, but it's really fun to embrace that.
Yeah, so this is an example of, we had a second camera that wasn't, the quadcopter wasn't performing for, and this second camera caught something really awesome that we didn't expect at all. So we started to really embrace the idea of like unexpected. So experimenting and doing stuff without any outcome was a big deal.
So after we got some flying time under our belts, we decided, okay, well, let's make this thing a little bit better. So we laser cut a rig out. We created an RF module so that we could transmit new patterns and lights to the helicopter while it's in flight. We even tried doing gesture controls so that we could fly it and then wave our hand and change the pattern.
Yeah, so did some of our new designs and iterations work? Maybe, kinda. We learned a bunch of things, how to make it lighter. In this particular thing, we'd probably want to do some kind of triangle packing thing to really reduce it, find different materials. But this is not the latest thing. It's the latest thing, not the final thing.
So we also decided, well, let's get more people involved in this. So we created an open source project. So we uploaded the code. We put that ring that you saw in the previous frame up on Thingiverse. We want to get people more involved with hooking these things up to their drones and flying them.
Yeah. So things we learned, people like blinky lights. People really, really like quadricopters. Dogs hate them. And we also learned that, you know, the thing that you're doing doesn't necessarily have to be the final thing, so long as it's the latest thing and you're completely, you're iterating and you're continuing on your journey of, you know, design discovery.
And the other thing we discovered was it's really not good to try to make your product the product du jour. It's kind of fun to start building these things and seeing where it takes you. As you make, you decide to make even more. And so what we've discovered is that this early prototype wasn't the final prototype, and we've got another one that we're working on right now.
Yeah, we had to use a manual override to make the different light patterns do what we wanted to do. It didn't stop us from launching it, talking to people about it, showing off the project. So it wasn't complete, and we still put it out there anyways, and we keep working on it.
But beyond everything else that we learned in the project, it was just to have fun. Sometimes fun led to the best ideas. So we had a lot of fun just sitting down and talking about this project over beers. We met a lot of interesting people in the park. We met some crazy dogs too. So.
Yeah. And I think like any project, it's not complete without a logo, so we made that too. So we can all be found on Twitter. If you want more information on the project, visit gameofdrones.ca. And our missing partner, Patrick, has an amazing installation out by the window called Auto Squiggler. I encourage you to check it out. It's super cool.
Thanks a lot.